Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Hall Writes. Today's video is for those of you preparing for the AP exam. We've got 5 tips to improve your rhetorical analysis essay. My first tip is to pay attention to what the prompt is actually asking because you need to be sure that you're answering the prompt. So based on the stable wording of the prompt, you're going to encounter the phrase rhetorical choices, and then you're going to see one of these 3 phrases: convey his message, achieve his purpose, or develop his argument. If you'd like more information or clarification about what a rhetorical choice is, I do have a few other videos on that topic, and I would love it if you would check those videos out. Now, as far as the difference between message, purpose, and argument, I personally believe that they choose the word that best fits the passage. So for instance, if it is a commencement speech, which is a graduation speech, they're probably going to have a message to that. Now, if it's a funeral speech, then maybe there's more of a purpose. Maybe they're trying to memorialize the person who's deceased. If it's an article, then it might be more of an argument. So just pay attention to what you're being asked because the word they give you in the prompt is going to fit that passage. The terms are also not mutually exclusive. So if you're asked to analyze the message, it doesn't mean that you ignore the purpose. So for example, let's say that it's a graduation speech and the message is perseverance. Well, the purpose might be to inspire the graduates. So identify what you're being asked to talk about, but don't ignore the other elements of the rhetorical situation. In a lot of my videos, I mention layers of evidence and commentary. So generally speaking, a body paragraph is going to have a topic sentence that conveys the main idea, evidence, commentary, and a concluding sentence. Now, you can certainly go more in depth than that and add more layers, but if you only have evidence and commentary, and it's just one layer of it, chances are your paragraph is going to be too short, it's going to be underdeveloped, and there's going to be more that you could have or should have said. So you really want to try to have those layers there to prove that you really understand what the writer is doing and why they're doing it. Generally speaking, it's better to have more commentary than evidence. That's going to help you be more thorough and help you develop your ideas even more. Now, I know that can be kind of tricky because a lot of students don't really know what to say when it comes to commentary, so I do have other videos on this, and later on in this video, I have a tip about how to develop your commentary as well. In order to write an effective essay, you need to create a line of reasoning. So a line of reasoning is a logical progression of ideas, and there are a few ways that you can create a line of reasoning. One tip I have for you is to think about your transitions within and between paragraphs. So within a paragraph, you're going to transition between those layers of evidence and commentary. Also, you want to transition between paragraphs. So the topic sentences, especially of body paragraph 2, and if you have a third body paragraph 3, those can be a great way to form those connections as well, because you don't want your paragraphs to feel choppy and isolated. You want to guide your reader through your paragraphs. And so the topic sentence is actually a great way to do this. So you can form a bridge or a connection. So in your second body paragraph topic sentence, you can actually refer back to the previous main idea and then reference your new main idea. That creates a bridge. It makes it easier for your reader to see the progression of ideas. It also really helps to analyze the passage chronologically, as opposed to just kind of picking and choosing evidence wherever you find it. Part of the reason why I recommend you analyze the passage chronologically is because the writer or speaker who originally wrote the passage or said the speech is going to have a line of reasoning of their own. And from what I have seen, the College Board is going to choose a passage that has a strong line of reasoning. So therefore, if you can follow the author's line of reasoning, that will help your line of reasoning in your analysis as well. Another quick tip is to have a concluding sentence to your paragraph to tie it back to your thesis. It just kind of makes everything nice and wrapped up for your reader. So it might seem formulaic, but when you're reading tons of essays, personally, I think that helps. Another quick tip to improve the quality of your essay writing is to use what we call rhetorically accurate verbs. So I gave you a few suggestions here, but if you want a more inclusive list, definitely Google it and find a list that works for you because there are several out there. We want to avoid verbs like says, shows, and uses because these are a little bit weaker. So instead of says, you can say claims, asserts, suggests. You could also say implies, depending on what you're talking about. Now, instead of shows, we could say illustrates, highlights, demonstrates, conveys. So there are options here. Now, a lot of students use the verb uses, and usually there's a noun after it, like uses repetition or uses juxtaposition. In these cases, you can usually change the noun into a verb. So instead of saying uses juxtaposition, you could just say juxtaposes or contrasts. Instead of saying uses repetition, just say repeats. Instead of saying uses logos, you could say logically conveys or logically asserts. So we want to try to avoid those imprecise verbs in favor of more precise verbs. Another tip is to avoid passive voice because active voice is usually more precise and direct. So an example of a passive sentence would be, the speech was given by Kennedy. Instead, you could flip that and have Kennedy gave the speech. We want the subject to be doing the action. So we want to avoid is and was. Now, another time that I see this is when students say something to the effect of is comparing, like he is comparing. And instead you could just say compares. That's more direct, it's more active. Also, we want to avoid phrases like he is trying to. You could say he seeks to or he attempts, or just take that phrase out entirely and be a little bit more authoritative. So instead of saying he is trying to compare, just say he compares. I tried to save the most impactful tip for last. So this was the tip that changed how my students wrote rhetorical analysis essays. You want to connect the choice to the rhetorical situation. So the rhetorical situation is the space part of space cat, if you use that acronym, or the soap part of soapstone, if you use that acronym. I've made some other videos about the rhetorical situation, so if you want a more in-depth video explanation, then definitely check out those videos. If you want other resources, I will link what I have in the description box below. These are things that have worked for my students to help them understand how to use the rhetorical situation to develop their commentary. I will be doing more videos leading up to the APLing exam, including a couple live Q&As. So if you don't want to miss that content, then please make sure that you are subscribed with your notifications turned on. And if you are taking the APLing exam soon, best of luck, you've got this. Until next time, guys, happy writing!